We're back with you tonight. You're in Focus. Thanks for staying on. Suspended public protector advocate Busisiwe Mkhwebane has accused chairperson of the impeachment inquiry looking into her fitness to hold office of being hostile and biased. Advocate Mkhwebane's senior counsel, Dali Mpofu, has applied for the recusal of Dyantyi. She is also petitioning for the removal of committee member and DA member of parliament, Mileham.
I hope I can believe that some of us really don't worry about this. The worry is the impact of all this to the public protector. That's the person that we have to worry about. Because when you do that, when you squeeze her legal team and not pay them for months, when you portray them as thieves and all that, what you are really doing is to try to strip her of her legal representation or to discredit her legal representative and her, So it's not about us. It's about the prejudice to the public protector, which is undue, unwarranted, unfair, biased, and cruel.
Well, joining us now to hear her side of the story and her assessment of this impeachment process to date is suspended public protector advocate Busisiwe Mkhwebane. Good evening and thank you very much for your time and joining us once again tonight here on In Focus. One would say, I mean, even in your own words, in your own papers, you indicated the same. Ever since you stepped foot into this process from the 11th of July, your intention was always not one, to participate. You protested in your participation, but also you've always indicated your intention to apply for the recusal of the chairperson. So you literally never gave it a fair chance, one would say.
Mm-hmm. I don't agree. I gave the process a fair chance, Thabo, and good evening to you and your listeners and viewers. I gave this process a chance. Indeed, we indicated to the committee that I'm participating because I was showing that, the accusations that I wanted to delay the process were untrue. And by that, I subjected myself to this particular process so that we can give the committee an opportunity to do their work. But unfortunately, Thabo, every time when I was appearing before the committee, I was subjected by the chairperson and by some members of the committee to this unfair treatment because, it's even worse where you find the chairperson and especially somebody who once even commented and said, I'm incompetent or I'm this angry person when I was raising issues of concern to the Committee on Justice. And you find members like your Mileham who didn't even disclose that they are spouses of the complainant in this particular matter because the motion was brought by Mazon on behalf of the Democratic Alliance.
What is your definition then of fairness and unfairness? I mean, because quite honestly, one would say, as you're participating in this process, you have an opportunity to cross-examine those who are leading evidence. You will also get a chance to, as you put it, give the other side of the story. So the other side will be heard as well. And according to the chairperson in my conversation with him last week, there is no predetermined outcome here. It's a process that one would lead evidence, and that evidence would be fairly assessed. So why the apprehension of unfairness?
There is biasness, and Thabo, starting with the directives of the committee, where we made our inputs, and our inputs were never taken into consideration. The process is not fair where you would find that the members, in fact, after the person has testified, the time period given to the evidence leaders and my legal team to cross-examine, and you wouldn't, in any process, give the same, allowable time. But on top of that, even after the members of the committee have clarified and asked certain questions, which we've objected on those questions where, asking an employee whether I am guilty of a misconduct or anything, where the process is to determine my fitness and not, asking that because it's for them to deliberate. But also the worst part is when after the evidence leaders are given an opportunity to clarify certain information after cross-examination. In a proper sphere of a process, we should be given an opportunity to re-examine, because you find that there's new information which sometimes the witness will bring forth, or as well change completely from what they've been cross-examined on. So that is not fairness, and there is a number of instances where we have objected to that. The worst part is where instances where we have not been finalized or completed cross-examining the witness and not being allowed to proceed, and members of the committee going ahead asking questions, and we are not given an opportunity to do that. So I think there's a number of instances.
The chairperson would say, there is really nothing that is prohibiting you from cross-examining if you will apply for that process to recall and then cross-examine, which is the amended directive that you are pointing to, which you're saying is particularly prejudicial towards you. Why? If you want to recall a witness, why not apply and get the witness?
We've done that, Thabo, and in the first place, you cannot just change the directives willy-nilly and mid-process. We've done that with certain witnesses, and now there is directives being changed that we need to apply for that, whereas those people, we never finished cross-examining them. So there is just the process is not fair, and again, there's a number of evidence which we can show. There's a number of recordings which we can play, and they are there in the archives of the committee, where the chairperson was very clearly biased. The worst part is when on the 13th, Thabo, where I didn't even plan to be sick, where he was totally so inconsiderate and didn't even want to listen to my legal team that I'm sick. I was like treated as if I'm not human, and I think even if they were told I'm dead, possibly they were going to even proceed with the process. The way it's as if I don't know what is pushing.
So are you saying the chairperson is not telling truth when he says he was only confronted with that sick note on the day? He was not told prior that you were unwell. He says as the process is going on,
even my legal team didn't know, even advocating Mpofu, because was called by my family member in the morning that I'm being taken to the doctor, to the hospital. So how do you get in? And he refused, because after the consultation and examination, we had to make sure that I scan that particular sick note and send it immediately so that they can see that indeed I was with the doctor. So he refused even my legal team to show him that particular. There is a recording. Whatever he says, we can replay whatever transpired on that particular day.
So the story, he says he was confronted during the argument. First argument, of course, what you brought was the workload, because you were facing, of course, the Friday court appearance. That's the big issue that was argued even prior to the sick note. So from the previous week, actually, the Friday when you had appeared, you started making indication to the chairperson. It continued on the Saturday. It continued on the Sunday. And he kept saying that there has to be a justifiable reason, not to say, well, I just made myself busy, and therefore the committee must postpone its work. It's only after those debates that then they were presenting him with a sick note, which he says, after having looked at it, that is why he postponed the hearings.
That's not true. Yourself, you should go in that because I listened to the recordings. That's not true. And I don't know why I should be questioned about that. I'm telling you what transpired.
Yeah.
And I had to sit down during the weekend and listen to all those. I mean, my legal team, for the 15 minutes when they were waiting for the witness, he wanted to address all these particular issues.
Yeah.
And he even said it there that, Wes, even my client is not here. She's sick. And I'm told now, because he didn't know himself, and there's evidence to that he was called in the morning that unfortunately I cannot come because I was not fine. Even now I'm still not yet fine, but I had to make sure that I come here. So I don't know why must I also justify to you, Thabo, and even to any other person. Let's go and listen again to what exactly transpired. So if you are going then to say he says this and that, I think it would be fair that everyone, let's go to the recording and listen. And secondly, the very same thing where my legal team was making this application is because the DA rushed to lodge an appeal, which then made the process to be this agent, because they couldn't even wait for 15 days themselves. And they rushed to lodge this particular appeal just to stop me from going to the office or to do my work. So we had to also lodge this application. I didn't plan to be sick. And at the end of the day, that was another reason. Anyway, that application to postpone, we knew as well that even if we do it, we might not have even got that particular postponement. And even worse is that he was told there, and he was told, yes, the medical certificate. If he was somebody else, he wouldn't even considered and proceeded to even give the members to proceed. I mean, it's even worse, those members who are also women, who also just proceeded as if nothing is happening. So, hence I'm saying, I mean, it showed them the, inconsiderate process and how I'm being treated by this particular committee.
Let's take a break.
I think that was the worst ever performance, where you just want to proceed irrespective of the fact, even if it's recorded. But when members are asking questions, at least when I'm there and my legal team, it helps, because even if it's a recording, but we can object to certain questions, we can also by then, there and there, make sure that they get information from me immediately. It's unlike then going and revisiting the recordings of the process.
Advocate Mkhwebane, let's take a break. We'll come back. I want to look at point B4, which you're also raising tonight, that he is unduly favoring the evidence leaders, to which the evidence leaders have rebutted that to say there is no such an enterprise that is taking place, and they're saying you did not give any evidence to that effect. We'll continue with the public protector in a moment. Stay with us. Back with you tonight with suspended Public Protector Advocate Busisiwe Mkhwebane, getting a sense of how she is looking at this impeachment process and what has transpired up until this point. Of course, she has now officially made her application for the recusal of the chairperson of the Section 194 committee, as well as one of the members in this committee, member of the Democratic Alliance, Mileham. So, point B4 of your recusal, as you've put it out in those 12 points, is that you're saying the chairperson unduly favoring the evidence leader and unwarranted proximity to collusion with them and generally adopting a position of opposition towards the public protector. The evidence leaders are saying there is no such collusion taking place or an enterprise to that effect, and you have not presented evidence to support that statement. What is your evidence to support that statement?
Maybe before I come to the evidence leader, even the chairperson himself, saying that during when he was told I'm sick, he even wanted to know the nature of my sickness during that on the 13th, which is an invasion of privacy and as well being inconsiderate. But that's what how gruesome the conduct was. Coming to the evidence leaders, we have evidence to the effect that a lot of the evidence which was, it relates to the relevance of the evidence which was presented. They were allowed to lead evidence on other matters, especially the one which we gave example, the sexual harassment allegations, where one witness said this person was purged because of there were misconduct proceedings against them. And when that person was called, that was due to be dealt with because it was presented as if this individual was paged, whereas it was the issue that there were disciplinary proceedings against that particular person. So we've given an example of that, and as well we can prove there's matters where they were discussed with the evidence leaders, but then they found themselves in the a letter which the chairperson wrote to my legal team regarding the issue of postponement. So, as well, the issue of the legal team or the evidence leaders being given a lot of opportunity and time, as I mentioned earlier, to the detriment of my case, because if you are fair and reasonable, you would make sure that everyone is treated with fairness and equally. So we have instances where that has not happened, and we have information to that effect. And as well, we showed that there is instances where they didn't even prove that when they called with witnesses, a lot of witnesses which were called, hence, we even cited like this committee, the CCMA, and dealing with all those issues of employee relations. And it's even worse, Thabo, because we had 3 panel members led by Judge Nkabinde who had prima facie evidence on only 4 charges. And there was also some of the witnesses where they found that their evidence is irrelevant. And evidence leaders now bringing a lot of witnesses, and as well we are objecting to certain witnesses and even the evidence which is being displayed. I mean, one example which we've shown now currently is that the attorneys' details, the information and sharing the details of the attorneys for what? It can't be proved, or there's no even reasons for doing that. So also on that, we have information and we can provide more information as and when it's needed by the committee, but they are going to be sitting and deliberating on the matter on Friday, but we are willing to show that and as well even play those clips and show the instances where we were not treated fairly.
Yeah. From your point of view, as you put it, you're saying you sat and you watched that proceeding that took place on the 13th of September. To us, sitting from the outside, it turned quite personal between your legal representative and the chairperson of the portfolio committee. Do you think that personal exchange in any way prejudices your, I suppose, interest in this matter, and that is the fairness that you're calling for, that the two are becoming personal even in terms of, you call it threats or promises that they are making to one another?
You know, what was even worse, Thabo, is that the media, and including yourselves and everyone, you are concerned about the egos of two adults, men, one trying to defend my rights, the other one trying to prove himself that he's the chairperson, forgetting about my rights, and as well the fact that I am not in a position to appear. And I mean, it doesn't matter whether I'm sick or not sick. It's as if, you know, we are talking about an object, not a human being. So Advocate Mpofu is defending me because knowing very well that everything should be fair, whatever possible. And I think the issue of a promise was relating to what we were going to be doing, the issue of a recusal, because as I'm saying, I was never treated fairly by this particular chairperson. And unfortunately, I would say he had preconceived outcomes, because, I mean, he said it even during the portfolio committee meetings on the issue of being incompetent and all those, irrespective of the fact that we operated under very strenuous budgetary constraints. And, you know, the staff members who did the work and everyone under those very strenuous circumstances, getting a clean audit, the third one now, congratulations to them. And not only that, but improved performance as an institution, a clean audit which doesn't only go alone, but it also shows that we've changed and impacted on a number of lives in South Africa. And it's so unfortunate, Thabo, Uguti, I'll be sitting here and then it's like I'm in a court of law, or not court of law, but being subjected to all these questions, instead of us checking what impact, what changes have we made as an office under my leadership to the ordinary South Africans whom cannot exercise their rights, and we are there to help them to exercise their rights.
Advocate Mkhwebane, I appreciate your time as always. Thank you very much for coming on tonight and saying your part of the story and telling us your impressions of the process so far. That is suspended public protector, Advocate Busisiwe Mkhwebane.